大家好，歡迎收睇華人老闆本色，我係你哋嘅主持人 Caxton。今日好高興能夠請到 Initium Capital 嘅 Managing Partner Bo Zhuang 先生嚟同我哋傾偈。阿 Bo 你好，
你好 Caxton。Thanks for having me。
阿 Bo 我知道你係好忙嘅，咁所以今日你嚟同我哋傾偈，真係非常之感謝。我做過啲 research 啦，呢個 Initium Capital 其實係一個backed by family office 家族辦公室嘅形式。咁家族辦公室過去10年內咧，好多大銀行啊、大律師樓啊、會計師樓啊，都想 tap into 嗰個 market 嘅。你介唔介意話俾即係同聽眾講下家族辦公室 family office 其實係一啲什麼嘅形式咧
？Okay. Family office from my point of view, how I would say is more around managing a family's wealth, I guess, at the end of the day. A lot of times people always see family office as a terminology. They don't necessarily understand exactly what it is. So how I will always say is, in layman's terms, in simple terms, is when you're too wealthy, you don't know how to manage your money because there's just too much money involved that you need a whole team to manage. So that means that you need an internal accountant, internal tax advisory, internal legal, internal administration. You may go towards even internal finance manager. Basically everything that's hosted within this particular organization to look after a specific family. So when it comes to us as a business, Initium Capital, obviously we are a commercial property fund. It is of course backed by a family office, mainly for the reason that obviously the funds are not only ours, but also from the broader market, of course, from all of our wholesale clients and so forth. So when I think about it, from that point of view, is a lot of people will go out and say, "Oh, I'm a family office," but what is it? Are they advising for a family office, or are they working for a family office, or are they an actual family office? So from my perspective, out of these three, we are the actual family office. So I guess that's sort of the dynamic, the difference about how I always see what it really is.
咁成立一個 family office 嗰個最低門檻係大約係幾多嘅身家啊或者 net worth 咧
？Yeah, good question. So I think to the broader market, everybody thinks having $20 million, $50 million, that's considered a family office. For me, anything over 300 million is what will be considered as one. For the reason that, imagine if you had $300 million, can you manage it? Can you manage the cent? Up to the cent? You probably can't, right? So you probably can't. So what that means is you really, really have to need a team around you to be able to build upon and manage that wealth for you, or otherwise be able to, of course, think of different investment strategies and so forth to make it work. So that's how I think about at least 300 mil plus, bare minimum, the bare minimum. Yeah.
咁你未加入呢個未創立呢個 Initium Capital 嗰時，你本身係做咗差唔多10年嘅 private banking，即係我睇到你個 CV 你係做過 ANZ， 做過 Credit Suisse，然後去咗 Westpac。咁你成立呢個 Initium Capital， 咁 Initium 喺拉丁文嘅意思就話 beginning 開始啦。咁
from the beginning
係啦 ，from the beginning。咁點解有乜原因驅使你放棄一個高薪厚職嘅工作Westpac private 而去創立呢個 Initium Capital 咧？
I think it stems from being in the industry for so long, and one thing I think I always wanted to have my own business, but second is finding the right opportunity. And I think the good thing about being in a private bank, or when you were in private bank, is that you get to meet a lot of people. And private bank, you're obviously meeting the wealthiest of people, right? Entrepreneurs, listed company CEOs, shareholders, whatever it may be. And I think through time, you obviously build a good relationship with them. And I'm a very relationship-driven person, similar to how you do your business. And got to a certain point where, a lot of things that you wanted to do for your clients at the time in the corporates cannot always be done, just because obviously the major banks has their own
systems
that you have to follow.
You got to tick all the boxes.
You have to tick all the boxes. Yes. You have to be within this particular framework. Whereas, if you're in your own private business, you can do a lot. Obviously, you're going to make sure you're compliant, but there's a lot more you can do. You have more control. So it got to that point where I thought, okay, it's probably about time for me to officially leave. Why? Because, I've built a good enough relationship and network with all my clients. Two, they are very reputable families that I got along really, really well with, who also wanted to tap into the finance network, but they just don't know how to. So, through all these conversations we've had, a lot of these meetings we've had, over time, we built that trust and that bond. And slowly, that's when I've decided, okay, I think it's time to move on from that, because I think there's a lot I want to do, but there's only so much the bank will allow you to do. I enjoyed what I had. Obviously, what I had was, like you said, a high-paying job, in a corporate world, well-respected as a banker, but not as an entrepreneur, not as a business owner. And taking that next step really, it develops me too. And you stop relying on anybody but other than yourself, which is always the case. But, when you're in a big corporation, you do have that big, the overall umbrella to help you. But when you're on your own, you are the umbrella. So I think that's what I enjoy. I do thrive on challenges. I enjoy thriving on challenges, and I think the fear of unknown is what excites me.
咁但係你轉呢個由呢個大銀行去到一個enterprise 嗰時候，你遇到最大嘅 challenge 係乜嘢咧？即係喺銀行嗰時，你好多部門去 support 你。當你自己 set up 你個own business 嗰時 ，own enterprise 嗰時，你好多嘢都要自己去做。
其實以前喺銀行有好多人都幫到你。But when you're on your own, the biggest challenge is you're on your own. You don't have anybody to back you up. You have to take responsibility, take ownership, and the biggest challenge I think is not being recognized as a business initially at the very beginning, but being recognized as Bo.
Yeah.
So everybody that was with me recognized me as Bo. They liked me. They wanted to do business. But they never recognized the firm.
Yes.
So what that means is a lot of clients that I had at Westpac, ultimately when they came, not everyone came across, obviously probably only half or less than half.
Yep.
But they came across only because of me, but to give face or otherwise have to continue to maintain that relationship. But as Initium, as the business, they didn't recognize. So that was the biggest challenge for me. And I think over time,
credibility
真係好少，因為冇人識 Initium Capital 嘛，全部都係識我。
即係佢哋會信你，但係佢會覺得你後邊有冇人幫你嘅？
係。咁另外一點咧就係我兩個 partner 佢哋都我全部個客都唔識佢哋噶嘛。咁佢哋就係我呢啲客都全部就係會諗咁我係上你阿布，唔過你個 partner， 你兩個 partner 我唔識佢哋，咁唔信我。they don't have that trust yet. So I had to build this brand up from ground. Took a lot of time. We did a lot of different marketing. There was the biggest one of them was actually marketing. That was a big challenge. We did put up a lot of money for it, and it didn't come up with the result we wanted. So if in hindsight I look back, I think building that reputation on its own through word of mouth, like similar to how we do business or our partnership over time, slowly, that's marketing for us. That's how I think. And then maybe by then when we build to a certain degree, that's when we can start paying for marketing. So yeah.
而家公司有幾多人啊？
而家有15個人。
15個 full time 嘅。
full time 係。
咁都好快喎，因為你公司成立咗2年多。
21年開始，咁4年咯。
咁其實公司將來因為而家我哋個 market 開始即係轉型啦，即係 based on weekend 嘅 new elect government 啦，同埋而家利息又跌啦，咁我相信你公司就繼續壯大。咁其實你係想建立一個點樣嘅文化咧？一個咩 culture for 你個公司咧
？I think transparency, meaning that everything's all open and transparent amongst our staff and the people within the business. I think letting them know exactly what's going on, making sure that they understand what's going on. I think that maintains the culture. I think what I've always sort of figured when I was in the big corporates is everybody knew a bit everything, but nobody knew everything.
Yeah.
My take on it is I want to be as transparent as possible to everyone involved within the company. And I think that builds a good culture because then there's that level of trust amongst each other. And I guess another part is being upfront about anything and everything, whether it's good or bad. It's always helpful. So I think that's sort of the culture that I want to continue.
即係少啲 hierarchy，就 more like a flat structure。
係 flat structure，flat structure 係最好噶嘛。15個人我諗都唔係好多，咁以前喺大銀行都有幾千幾萬人，係咪？咁唔同噶嘛嗰啲。
咁唔係咁，而家你做嘅 more 係個 niche market 啊嘛。咁你請人嗰時候，你係注重一啲點樣嘅質素咧
？At the time, a lot of it was purely relationship. But now, in hindsight, when I think about it, I think somebody that's a hustler. In short, that's willing to go above and beyond. I think we at the time originally, what we did was we hired a lot of industry professionals that's been in the industry for 20 or so years or more, even longer than me. But a lot of them, I felt that they were a little bit more, they were scared, to a point where they weren't thick-skinned enough. They didn't want to go out to see their clients. Sometimes they're a bit hesitant to make phone calls to new clients. Why? Just because, again, like I said, comes back to the point about initial capital at the time didn't build enough, like you said, credibility and name on the market for people to recognize. But now slowly people are recognizing us, which is great. So if in hindsight, I would say, if I'm hiring anybody, they need to be willing. They need to be hungry.
Hungry 對，
一定要 hungry。
因為其實好多時你喺大行請嚟嗰啲人，因為大行已經有一個 branding 喺度，人哋會揾大行。係。而你哋而家係話，喂，我哋唔係企，我哋冇個 branding，個 branding 唔喺呢度字，我哋需要人去 actively 去 present 自己，而唔係等人入嚟。
你講好啱啊，因為好多人咧，佢哋喺銀行出嚟㗎啦，佢哋會用嗰個銀行嘅名，如果你係 Westpac 咧、Credit Suisse、ANZ， 咁呢個大名咧，人哋都會 OK，I recognize you because you work in this bank. But are you recognized for you as an individual? A lot of them don't. For me, it was more like they recognize me as an individual. Sometimes when I was in the bank, like 我以前喺大銀行，我有啲客都唔知我係邊個銀行，佢就話阿寶，你嘅銀行係邊個銀行？唔該，我哋有呢個。There's a trust between us, right? But they didn't even know which bank I was at. That was good for me. Like that's why I had clients coming across. But then for them, a lot of them was more like, okay, they knew which bank they were at, but they didn't recognize them as an individual because they were just doing the day to day. So I don't know. I think at the end of the day, it's just a bit of a balance that's required, of course, But in hindsight, if it's me, I would definitely say anybody that's hungry, that's willing to learn, that's willing to have a thick skin. Doesn't necessarily need to have the relationship, but a bit of relationship will go already a start, a long way for them, I feel, and that's what we're looking for. If you're talking about salespeople, of course, yeah.
嗱喺呢個 market 咧，通常你哋需要即係不斷咁創新啊，新產品啊，新嘅知識啊，嚇，因為世界不斷咁轉啊嘛，咁你哋追求創新之餘，有冇諗下揾翻個平衡，就係話，喂創新啲新產品，但問題係。亦都唔好太過 aggressive，因為你係想 build 一個 branding、trustworthy，同埋你知，因為而家個環境其實澳洲呢幾年個環境係都變化好大。咁有時你話，我啱有個做咗新嘅產品，或者我啱即係 build up 嗰個 branding，但係如果人哋累咗人哋蝕錢少咗錢咁又唔係咁好喎，咁你去點樣去揾個平衡咧？
平衡咧，其實係要睇市場啦。咁市場好，你一定要睇市場係市場嘅 which cycle 啦。咁以前我哋剛開始嗰時咧，個市場嘅 interest 係好低噶嘛。咁好低嗰時咧，人哋就會投資嗰啲商業就係commercial property 咯，
同埋 spending
係，因為佢哋要投資嘛。咁嗰時咧，我哋就有一個產品就係投資嗰啲 commercial property，就 retail commercial。So at the time it was good。因為利息好低，咁我哋嘅 return 嘅 rental yield 差唔多係4.5，加上到 capital 係。不過佢哋如果放嗰啲錢喺銀行，佢哋係冇 return 㗎。
嗰時咩
0.25 係0.5%、0.5、0.25，咁唔係好多啊嘛。咁嗰時係市場就係呢個產品好市啦。It belonged to that market. As soon as rates came up because of inflation,
Yeah.
people start to wanting to get out. They don't see the need for it because they're getting interest rates at 4% now, term deposit, or 4.5%, whatever it may be at the time. So at the time, we had to quickly change and then start looking at, we need to do development now. We need to do project development funds. And then later we thought about, okay, we need to also do interest rate, private credit. So that's how the products came about. But if you're talking about us being, how we should continue to maintain, I think right at the moment, just focusing on what we do best, which is, like you said, the niche that we have. With my partner, the Hasten family, they've obviously got that real estate background for over 3 decades. So it does help us propel a lot in terms of that particular space. So I would say we don't necessarily try to overdo it, but maintaining it to a point whereby at least we're not at the end of the market. So if the market's moving, we're not moving after I knew about everything's happening.
You don't follow.
Yeah, I don't follow. I want to be
the
there, or I have to be ahead. Yeah, that's how I would say. Yeah.
咁樣嗱，即係好似嗱頭先你講呢個利息之前13次升啦，咁所以你哋要 gradually 要去有啲新嘅產品或者慢慢去 adjust 呢個顧客嘅 expectations，OK 或者投資者嘅 expectations 咁。咁但係譬如咁好似前嗰排 Trump 突然間話，喂，我哋要加 tariff 即係呢個係突然間發生嘅事。咁你哋去點樣？即係當呢啲咁嘅突發事件發生時，你哋去點樣去維護客人嘅利益，同埋另外亦都維護公司嘅穩健咧？
係I think
因為呢啲人冇 plan 㗎嘛。
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's just taking a less aggressive approach. I think everything that we do, we don't over leverage. We don't stretch ourselves too much, and we don't act on it too aggressively. We don't act on anything too aggressively. Actually, we've always been sort of a bit more like slow and steady, but more steady than slow, I'll say. So staying steady is very important. And I mean, the good thing is we're obviously in this particular market where it's to do with property, and it's a lot of it is driven by obviously the current economics, the current market, especially interest rates, right? So, tariff wars, this sort of may affect us, maybe in a good way, because obviously market starts to fluctuate more and people are less inclined to invest in the stock market. They want to come into commercial property or they want to invest into developments or private credit just because it's much easier, simpler. So sometimes it's a good thing, So if those sort of news comes about, we'll work on it based on the news, but overall it doesn't slow us down. Let's just put it that way. Maybe we have to make some adjustments, but I wouldn't say that it's going to be a whole heap unless it's to do directly with the market. And we're more affected by changes in council regulations, changes in council sort of planning and all that sort of stuff. So that's what's going to change us more, affect us more.
即好似譬如而家呢個紐省好多地區 council 都轉呢個雙零咁，即係嗰個係反而係
嗰個會影響我哋多啲嘛。因為我哋如果奉錢出去都係一樣噶嘛，因為嗰啲投資嗰啲借款嘅嗰啲人，佢哋全部都係做好多都係咩 land banking 啊、commercial property 啊、commercial lending， 咁佢哋借錢啦，我哋都要睇佢哋個 asset 咯，咁有啲係做 development， 我哋要先睇下佢哋嘅 development 係咪好㗎，咁係咪因為租年會改變佢哋，咁我哋都係要做好多嘅 DD 咯，係咁係啊，
你哋 family office 你哋嗰啲客人大部分都係local 啊，定係海外都多咧？
都有，我哋有 local 有海外，咁其實而家係 local 多啲啦。Because we're trying to tap into the local market more. At the very beginning, it was more one-sided to the Asian demographic, just because a lot of us had that connection. But now a lot of it is more moved towards the locals because we've been able to tap into the locals. We're getting recognized by the locals, and they understand the investments we're doing, and it's good. It's a good thing. Yeah.
未來發展想公司去即係去一個點樣嘅方向咧？
I think long-term wise, we want to be able to be recognized in the finance market as a reputable firm, especially in property. and obviously wealth management and all the other stuff that we do as part of our overall group. But I think long-term wise, being able to see ourselves being packaged and be able to hopefully one day, to be able to list or otherwise, we can package it and be able to sell the whole business one day maybe. That may be good.
你覺得AI 啊或者呢個人工智能咧，對你公司嘅發展係會有啲咩影響咧
？It's good because a lot of our staff uses AI, and it helps. Like for example, sometimes it may take me half an hour to write an email. Now it only takes me 3 seconds, just because I put in dot points, tell them what I wanted to deliver in message or the message I want to deliver, and then bang, it spits it out in like less than 3 seconds or 10 seconds, whatever it may be. So you actually process improvement, definitely. Efficiency, definitely. Your standard day-to-day job, definitely. But anything that's out of that sort of standard day-to-day, then it won't help too much because you obviously have your own intellectual property that needs to go in as part of it, right? But overall, it does help improve the process.
咁呢個係from呢個 operational perspective 咧。咁如果 from 投資啊、decision making 啊，你覺得啲 investor 會唔會因為 AI 而多咗衍生咗多啲問題咧
？Yeah, absolutely. I think they don't need to consult a financial consultant maybe. They don't need to consult a legal consultant. They can probably ask AI, ask ChatGPT and say, what do you think about this? Do an analysis on this. Obviously, it's not going to be 100% correct to the core, but at least, it's got enough to sort of allow you to make your judgmental call and have a judgmental call on the particular investment or a particular product that we're sort of pitching and selling. So yeah, I guess it's not a bad thing.
如果翻去3年4年前嘅，即係你啱啱創業嗰時候，有冇一啲嘢你會再重新做過咧
？Look, honestly, I don't have any particular regrets. I could have. The only thing I would say is what we could have done better. That's the only thing I would say. And I think everything happens for a reason. So whatever we did at the beginning versus where we are now today, there's no difference. We're still trying to climb that mountain. We're still trying to do better than ever. The only difference is we're more equipped. We understand the market more. We understand our clients more. We understand this business more. But everything that we did before, I think, it's meant whatever happened, it happened. You know what I mean? There's not much you can change. So I wouldn't call it regret. You know what I mean? Yeah.
咁作為一個好有經驗嘅銀行家或者家族辦公室嘅投資人，你有冇一啲嘢想係留下，即係一個 legacy 留低？咁第日人哋話Initium Capital 做一啲嘢 very good， 或者係好多人未做過，或者好多 family office 未做過㗎。因為我覺得你係想將呢個 family office 做轉型一個比較新啲嘅規模去接觸呢個 market。
I think in this particular market, especially for where we are in our industries, staying afloat, staying around, and staying here for the long term. What I wanted to build really, from if you're saying from a legacy point of view, is to be able to recognize us as a pure play commercial property space, a space that we can sort of be recognized for, because we obviously do a lot in this whole space. But there's only one focus that we focus on, which is in commercial properties, right? Whether it's developments, whether it's buying, leasing, or whether it's lending, it's all to do with that market. So we want to be recognized for that, I think, in the long run, as a fund, as a financial firm, whatever it may be. Yeah. So that's how I would see it.
最後一個問題啦，你覺得你自己係咪一個優秀嘅企業家咧
？I wouldn't say. I think I could do better. I can be a better one. Yeah, I can always be a better one. But so far, I haven't done too bad. I'm here still, so it's good. But can always be better. So yeah, I wouldn't say too bad, but always room for improvement, of course. Yeah, that's how I would say it.
好，多謝你今日share 咁多好寶貴嘅意見俾我哋聽啦。我覺得其實你可以從大公司放下所有嘢。走出嚟自己去創業，其實值得好多人去借鏡嘅，因為其實講真，好多人而家 到即係去到中年嗰個 management level，都唔敢行出一步去創業，因為有家庭嘅包袱啊、mortgage 啊咁樣。咁你走出嚟踏出呢一步，咁然後做咗一個非常有品牌嘅公司，咁我覺得好多人其實可以值得去借鏡嘅。咁希望下次再見你時，你有多啲 initial capital 好嘅消息同我哋分享。多謝晒。